Hey, students and parents, this is Mr. Benford, and I am here to give you a few book recommendations. Now, I'm going to split this into three parts. First part is going to be recommendations for boys. The middle part is going to be done by Miss Wong, and that will be recommendations for girls. And the third part will be recommendations for both boys and girls. Now, let's go ahead and get into it. But before I start giving my book recommendations, I just want everybody to understand that yes, I am talking to boys. This is a book recommendation that I have had for myself. These books that I have read as a boy and that I've recommended and been recommended by boys. So, does that mean that books are gender specific? No, not at all. Can girls read these books? Absolutely. Have girls? Yes, absolutely. This is just for that stereotypical boy, boys that love action, love those adventure books. This is great for them. These are my preferences. Are there more? Absolutely. Are there some fantastic books out there? Absolutely. And some of the books that Miss Wong and I are going to recommend for boys and girls will cover some of the books that I don't cover here. Now, again, there are more books out there. If you have any, please let me know. As a teacher, maybe I can make another video and recommend those books. So let me get into it. These are in no particular order at all, not from best to worst or worst to best, but they are just 10 books that I recommend for boys. So, number one that I recommend every single year, I think it's a fantastic book. It was shared by Mr. Phillips to me. It is written by Brandon Sanderson. Fantastic author. I love reading his books, not just Steelheart, but all of his books. He is a fantastic writer. This book is a book about super villains. Now, I know we're used to superheroes like Superman and things like that, but this is a book where overnight there's a comet in the sky and normal humans, started to turn into these super villains. So they use their powers actually for themselves and selfish gain. The main character, the protagonist in this book, or I guess the main villain antagonist in this book, is named Steelheart. And it's about him being this invincible kind of Superman-ish character, but he is deadly. He takes over the city of Chicago and turns it basically into everything, into metal or steel. So it's it's about these characters that try to figure out, well, how can we take this guy out? How can we kill him? Normal humans trying to take on a super villain. It's a fantastic book, and I highly recommend it. Number two, the second book I recommend is in the Brother Band. It is a series. Oh, by the way, Steelheart is a series of 3 books, and it has a short mini series or mini book in there as well. But the next one is written by the Ranger's Apprentice. It's by John Flanagan. It is called Brother Band. I love this story for the unity of boys, the way that they gather around each other, kind of a group of misfits that work together on this ship. It is historical fiction in the time of the Vikings. It is a fantastic series if you like a group of boys adventuring out together. Great book, highly recommended. And it is, again, as you see there, a series. The third book is written by Alan Gratz. This is not a series, but he has written a lot of historical fiction books. I love Alan Gratz as an author. He is fantastic in bringing things to life. He has written the most popular, I think, is Refugee, and we will be reading that together as a class. I've read this one. I've read Prisoner 3057 or 87, Project 1065, Allies, Grenade, and Refugee, and they are all fantastic books that take on a different spin to historical fiction. This one is about World War II and D-Day, and kind of how it's taken in 3 perspectives of an English soldier, an American soldier, and then a French citizen. I love the way that it brings all of these characters from different backgrounds together. Fantastic book. The next book that I recommend is the Cherub series. Now, you might have read Alex Rider or heard of Alex Rider. I just saw it on Netflix, actually. But it is a series about a boy who becomes kind of this spy, I guess, or secret agent, and goes out on missions. I like the Alex Rider series, and I do recommend that. But I like this. This is written from a British perspective. It just has a more gritty feel to it, a more realistic feel. Alex Rider has more of that Disney-ish feel to it, where it's a great book in and of itself. But I like the Cherub series better. It does get a little bit shady as you get into book. I think it's like book 3 or 4 as you get in deeper into the books. So you do have to watch that. Book 1 and 2, I think, are great. Book 3 and 4 starts to get it because they start talking about he's infiltrating like drug dealers and things like that. So that is something to be aware of in the Cherub series. But great series. A Long Walk to Water. Oh my gosh, I cannot recommend this book enough. It's an easy read. It is a book that I cry every single time I read this book because it is so heartfelt. It's a realistic fiction. Most of it is based on a true story about a main character in South Sudan, or when Sudan splits and that becomes the South Sudan and Sudan. And it's about a boy who's stuck in the middle of this conflict and what he goes through. And as you read this story, honestly, it's hard for me to even imagine that it is a true story. It's more has more in it that seems just like that just isn't possible that somebody can go through so much drama in their life. Fantastic book. And if you're maybe not at grade level and you want a great book to read, this is amazing. The next book I recommend is the only book on this list that has a female protagonist, but she is bad. I mean, she is bad. So I love this book. It is a series. I don't necessarily recommend the series. This is one of those books where I think is great book 1, but then book 2, 3, and as it goes on, just are not great. This is a story about, again, I like superpowers. I don't know, maybe I wish I had superpowers, but it's about people in society. There are the red bloods and the silver bloods. And the silver bloods are the leaders because they have this like power. They're seen as royalty. They have this sort of power and they rule over kind of the slaves, which are the red bloods. So I don't want to give away any more, but the main character is going to be a red blood. Okay, so it is a fantastic book. I don't always recommend books for boys with female protagonists because sometimes they can't relate. But I think this author, Victoria Aveyard, does a great job of bringing that character to light. And she's very aggressive in the book, which I know that a lot of boys like in a story. She's not very wishy-washy. There's a little bit of indecision, but actually in the book, the boys seem to be as struggle with making decisions in this book. Okay. Next book is the Maze Runner series. Yes, it is a movie. I think the movies are okay to mediocre, but the books I really enjoyed. I've read all of them except for the Fever Code. So it is a great book to read for boys. Again, lots of action, lots of adventure. Boy protagonist. It does have a girl protagonist that comes in later in the story if you've seen the movie. But the book is obviously better than the movie. It is fantastic. It's about kids stuck in a maze and they have to figure their way out of this maze without dying. So that's kind of the story behind it. It has a Hunger Games-ish feel to it. So lots of adventure, some death, some dying, some friendship, some villainry in there as well. It is a series, so if you like one, you can continue to read. Another series that I read that a lot of people kind of get turned off to, I really enjoyed. As I've read, I think 5 of them. And this is I Am Number 4 series. Again, they tried to make a movie out of it. It was okay, about as good as the Maze Runner was. But the books, I really enjoy the plot, that there are these aliens. They are numbered 1 through 9, I believe they are, and 1 through 10. And they're trying to be, they're systematically being killed off. So they have to be killed off 1, 2, 3, all the way through. And the first one starts out with number 4 in this story. So it's a great series. I enjoy it. Again, a lot of action, some superpowers involved in there. I guess you can see kind of a theme there. So I really enjoy that book. So those are my series books. This one, Legend series, is another great one for book number 1. I really had trouble reading book number 2. I got turned off a little bit. They got more into the relationships. I'm not a guy who likes to read a lot of books with relationships. I just want some action and some, adventure in my stories. If you're more into relationships, maybe you would like a different series. But this one starts out in this dystopian world. A lot of mystery involved. There's no superpowers, but some mystery. So you're trying to figure out what's really going on with this plague or pandemic that's happening. It is futuristic, so it doesn't have the feel of what we're going through today. It has a little bit more of a future feel to it. But a great book. Mary Lou has written a lot of other books as well. This one I highly recommend for boys. And I believe this is my last one. Number 10 is historical fiction from World War II, and the Holocaust is The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. Oh, another book that I absolutely is heartfelt, and I love this book so much. It is a movie, and I actually do enjoy the movie as much as the book, which is rare. I think it's done in a fantastic point of view. It really opens your eyes to what the Germans were thinking during World War II and how the Jews might have felt during World War II. It's about a story of friendship as well, which I love books about friendship and relationships between boys building each other up. So this one is about 2 boys, one German and one Jewish, during the Holocaust, and as you see in the picture, during the concentration camps. I don't want to give away too much of the story, but it is fantastic character development. So these are my 10 books that I recommend to you. Boys, again, girls can read them and girls have read them, but these are my chosen that I'm like, if you could read 10 books this school year, if you I highly recommend these 10 books. I'm going to give you 10 books that anybody could read, but as a boy, these are my 10 books. So if you have any questions, please send me an email about these books. If you disagree, please let me know as well. Or if you have a book that isn't in that list or isn't in the list for everybody to read, please let me know as well. I would love, love, love to hear from you.